I know you guys have one. So.
We backed the Cyprus virtual visit.
What did
So hopefully we get that at some stage along the way.
I'm sure there's no holes in my socks.
Okay, so before I start, actually, I just want to mention the AR Marketing Conference. That's the Augmented Reality Marketing Conference. Alex Gibson, he's been a great supporter of the 3D camp, and he's running that at the end of April. So, as Dave said, joined at the hip, augmented reality and virtual reality. It's a very good event. I was at the one at the Guinness Storehouse last year, so if you're interested in going on to that. So, yeah, let me go back there. So, and again, before I start my slides, I just want to relate how I met Gleb last summer at the Maker Fair. This isn't the Maker Fair, but we've shown the Oculus Rift to about 2,000 or 3,000 kids at this stage at various different events around the country. This was at the ITLG event in Shannon Airport last year. And it's the same thing everywhere you go. It's always this kind of 20 people deep. And there were 600 kids at this event and just kept circulating, coming back for a second and a third go. But at the Maker Fair in the lawn of Trinity College last year, it was the same kind of thing, and I was on my own that day. It was a Saturday, so I was under fierce pressure, and I had no Xbox controller, so I had to be bent over the desk with the mouse all day long, and I was stressed out. And Gleb came up to me and offered to give me a hand. I never met him at that stage, and we kept in touch afterwards. And he was talking about getting the virtual reality meetup group going here, and I said, you know, Gleb, we've been doing this conference down in UL for the last 8 years, called 3D Camp. And it's just a user-generated community, grassroots kind of an event, not-for-profit, always free to attend. And it's been looking at stuff like augmented reality, virtual reality, haptics, gestural interfaces, and the overlap with the real world as well, with 3D printing and so on. And after last year's event, we realized, there's so much happening in this space, we need to do more regular events. So we're trying to get chapters going nationwide now. We have 3D Camp Limerick meetup group. I've been talking to people in Galway and in Cork as well, so we're hoping to get meetup groups going there fairly soon. We're fair play to Gleb for taking the ball and running with it, and this group is, I think, nearly up to 100 members now at this stage, so we're doing that. I want to start off and just show you quickly a video that we showed at the second 3D Camp in Limerick in 2009, a video called World Builder, which is a couple of million views, I believe, on YouTube. It really struck a chord with a number of people, including myself. I won't show you the whole thing. It's about 9 minutes long, but I recommend having a look if you get a chance. so, that was, I think, 2009, and we see an awful lot of videos, concept videos nowadays for virtual reality that look something similar like that. It was quite a vision to have at the time. And now with the Leap Motion headset, or the Leap Motion controller, which we can attach to the front of the headsets, we see ourselves doing this kind of hovercast menus and so on and so forth. So it's starting to become a reality now. But when I saw this at the time, I said, this is what we need to bring to schools. This is the way we need to allow kids to be world builders. So I've been kind of dabbling in and out of Second Life quite a bit of the time. Let me get out of this, sorry now. Back and forth for years in Second Life. Never got really sucked into it, but I just thought there was so much potential in what they were trying to create there. An open-ended sandbox type virtual world. It always felt like it was limited by the control systems being two-dimensional, not having the three-dimensional interaction with a three-dimensional world. I was also doing volunteer IT support at the time for Wales School Door, a school in Newcastle West, which was a brand new national school, had an inspiring principal there called Dahi O'Murk, who's the guy in the centre there. He's well known in education centres, or education circles, as a keynote speaker at the ICT in Education conference there in 2010, I think. Dahi's a kind of thought leader in terms of the application of technology in education. And he used to be saying to us, look, we've got all this incredible technology in the school now, interactive whiteboards, all the broadband you could want, laptops and iPads and so on and so forth. But he said, we're not teaching any better or any differently with all this stuff. How can we use this technology to teach better? And I was aware, I think, at that stage of the emergence of this pedagogy of game-based learning, an actual valid and very much understood pedagogy of game-based learning now, which is the application of video games and games to learning. And really it's taking, the characteristics of some of the best educational toys like Lego, Kano, Play-Doh, which are building blocks to allow kids to be creative, to create their own stuff. And if you take, for instance, as well, the sandbox. Okay, so we wanted to bring the idea of a digital sandbox to the school, effectively. As I say, I've been dabbling in Second Life for a few years. For obvious reasons, we couldn't use Second Life in the school. But what we did use was Open Simulator, which is really the open source version of Second Life that's been kind of reverse engineered out of the open source client for Second Life. Looks the very same, and in fact it's kind of passed out Second Life now in terms of the numbers of users and in terms of the size of the world. Okay, so we developed our own way of hosting that in the cloud and brought it into the school. And I'll just divert briefly now to Minecraft. So it was kind of hard to explain at the time what we were trying to do in terms of this game-based learning, open virtual world, a sandbox. Minecraft, of course, has come along in the meantime. It's been phenomenal, and people get it now. And Minecraft is not just, the game is kind of like the Trojan horse that draws kids into creating stuff for themselves. That's where the real power of Minecraft is a sandbox virtual world. A good friend of mine, Walter Higgins, down in Cork, I worked with him when we were in Apple together. He said, you can't see the whole lot of this slide, sorry. Walter's created a thing called Scriptcraft, which is a way of programming mods in Minecraft. Great way of introducing kids to programming. And he's bringing a book out very soon, actually, so keep an eye out for that. What he said last September, when the rumors were swirling about Microsoft buying Minecraft, that he hadn't heard much talk of Minecraft as a platform instead of Minecraft as a game. And to him, and to me, Minecraft as a platform is much more interesting. And I just tweeted back to Walter at the time and said, look, I think this is actually, if it's true, it's going to be Microsoft's virtual reality play. Think Philip Rosedale's High Fidelity. So Philip Rosedale is the guy who created Second Life, and he has since started up a new startup now called High Fidelity, where he's kind of taken the lessons he learned from Second Life, the things that did work and things that didn't work. And High Fidelity is kind of a peer-to-peer virtual reality, so keep in mind that one's very interesting. And of course then in January or February Microsoft introduced HoloLens, and it was great to see that Minecraft featured heavily in that. So I think it is going to be a kind of flagship product for them to demo HoloLens. And just briefly before I go back, it was great to see last week that every secondary school in Northern Ireland is now going to get Minecraft. It's the first place it's being done on a regional basis. So yeah, so look, this is what we introduced, Open Simulator. That was the idea, to kind of create a Minecraft, even though we didn't have that at the time, to allow kids to build their own stuff. So I have great admiration for what the guys here have done, and building your own content, like that takes an awful lot of effort. Our view on it was, like, we'd seen schools adopting game-based learning kind of off the shelf. They were getting a game, a Nintendo game, let's say, to teach one area of the maths curriculum, and another game to teach one area of the geography curriculum. We just felt that was kind of unsustainable for schools. We wanted to give them a platform that would allow them to create their own curriculum content. So the kids started off building this kind of stuff. Even, you know, building the Parthenon at Acropolis, you're learning all about maths and the golden ratio and so on. So this is just the early days, 2010. We were blogging and tweeting about it mad, and then some teachers started paying attention. Simon Lewis is the kind of preeminent teacher blogger in Ireland. He thought it was incredible potential in it. And we got talking to the NCT, the National Centre for Technology and Education. So that was the unit of the department at the time that had funding for technology projects in schools. Didn't fund a whole lot of things, so it was great to get their support. And they funded us to run a 20-school pilot project. I think the green dots were the ones that we eventually ran it in. 14 different counties, 20 schools. So Jerome Morrissey was the director at the time, and he said, that the use of 3D learning was very much in line with their thinking around the implementation of Project Maths. And not just maths, that's what he quoted here, but he said it touched all areas of the curriculum, geography, history, and so on. So we created MissionV, not-for-profit at the time, and got support from Social Entrepreneurs Ireland. And then we had one training day in the Galway Education Centre. 20 teachers came along, and they went back and they started into it straight away. And this was kind of the early reactions that we see here on Twitter. They talk about it being very, very motivational way of learning, very colourful way of learning. And Anna Untala said that then at the end of the year. She talked about 3D virtual space, pushing the boundaries of teaching and learning in so many dynamic and exciting ways, really captivating. Stephen Devlin in Inchicore, he said he had great stories about the kids coming in the morning, high-fiving each other because they'd solved the problem the night before in the virtual space together. So the kids used to go home and meet each other inside in the virtual world and work on a maths problem and solve it. I'll just show you a brief video now. This is from that time, and this is at the start actually. So my avatar is here and the kids have the same avatars in the background there. And what they're doing is they're programming little turtles you'll see here in Scratch, the Scratch programming language, which is a great way of introducing kids to programming. Most of the coder dojos, I think at this stage, are using it. And one of the advantages of using a system, an open source system like Open Simulator, is that it's often compatible with a lot of these tools. So the kids could create their programs in Scratch. These are all primary school children now. And bring them in, attach them to objects here. So they were learning about angles, acute angles and so on. And they were getting the turtles to go off in different directions and just draw these different shapes, some more sophisticated shapes in the background. As I say, this was at the very start. Later on they started doing 3D spirals and all sorts of interesting stuff. It was almost like learning how to do 3D printing in this kind of a way. So again, if you got a chance to see the chat even there going on in the background, you can see the kids are just so excited about learning in that way. So yeah, again, another advantage of having a big system, an open source system like Open Simulator, is a lot of people working in this space, making a living in Second Life, and they can bring those skills over across to Open Sim. So there was a company called 3D Colab, I think, up in Belfast. They built an amazing simulation of Harland and Wolff shipyard and the Titanic. That's not the Titanic there, that's the sister ship, I think. The Titanic was down underwater actually, so you had to go down to see the sunken sunken Titanic. And it's a bit like, you remember the holodeck in Star Trek, you could say, okay computer, run the program. So we could swap in and out these various different simulations. And the whole idea was to build the ecosystem where the kids on the program could literally use an endless amount of simulations, have access to those. So besides the 20 school project, we worked with NUI Maynooth. We worked on a module there with the trainee teachers, so the teachers themselves learned how to create learning content in OpenSim. The DCU one was interesting as well. Again, it's not full size there, sorry. DCU used it as an actual virtual classroom for their access program. So they're trying to get kids in disadvantaged schools in North Dublin interested in colleges and options. So 6 different schools, 3 kids in each school, 18 kids altogether, met each other and their tutor only in the virtual world for this particular module. The tutor was sitting down in DCU. So that's just a picture there. Early on, they were learning how to program Scratch, which you can see in the background. The kids are asking questions from the tutor, and then they're attaching those scripts to the geometric shapes and so on. So at the end of the year, got great feedback from the teachers. Almost to a person, they were very positive about teaching using those methods. Dr. Conor Galvin at UCD School of Education and Lifelong Learning there did an independent evaluation, and that's available on the website, you can see. But by and large, he gives a massive thumbs up, and he says that this should have been rolled out to every school in the country. But unfortunately for us, and before I get onto that, what happened was that the NCTE, the timing wasn't great because they got effectively dissolved into another unit of the Department of Education called the PDST, Professional Development Service for Teachers. Those guys didn't have a budget for technology programs, so it fell between 2 stools, and even though with 60-something schools lined up to participate, we got no funding for it. So as a last resort, we tried running a crowdfunding campaign, not on Kickstarter, but on Fundit. We felt that was kind of more appropriate for what we were trying to do. We were looking for 29 grand, and we were amazed, really, to be honest with you, to get 13 grand in pledges, because the only people that could have really availed of this were the kids and their parents, I guess, in the schools, and we were going to run the program in 38 schools. There was just so much goodwill out there towards that project. It was just great to get that much support even. So at that stage, we had to make a decision, are we going to try and keep seeing if we can go down the charity route, raise money that way, or do we, find out if we can make some other business model work. But what we decided in the end was just to, wind down the not-for-profit, and we rebooted as SimVirtua on the Enterprise Ireland New Frontiers program. So MissionV is still a product that we offer, cloud-based open simulator. But we're not pushing that too hard at the moment. We're more consultancy now and developing enterprise and industrial applications for virtual reality, in particular in the areas of health and safety. And we're talking to some, I guess, a few household names in that area. Unfortunately, I can't really say who at the moment, but hopefully later on I'll be able to talk about that. But just in wrapping up then, I'd say that at least before we wrapped up in the schools program, it was great that we finally got a chance to bring the headset, the vision, I guess if you want to call it a vision we had 3, 4 or 5 years ago of, virtual worlds is grand, but really what we wanted to have was virtual reality in the schools. So we brought it along to the school in County Offaly, 2-teacher school in the middle of nowhere, near Clonmacnoise. They did a field trip to Clonmacnoise and went and built their own virtual Clonmacnoise, which was fantastic. And then they got to experience, you can see, they spent like several weeks building this and you'll see the monitors in the video, like the old cathode ray tubes, Such a contrast between the way that they built it and they eventually got to experience it. And, you'd think after a few weeks of building it, they'd be kind of intimately familiar with the scale and the dimensions, but they weren't. It was only when they put on the headset, you can see the faces of joy here, the experience of really, really experiencing this model that they had created properly for the first time. It got a bit of attention actually. That it was Technology.ie, which is part of Black Knight, came down to the school and did a video for us, and it got picked up by Engadget, and it got, I don't know, about 10,000 views afterwards. But I remember getting a tweet from some guy in Silicon Valley saying, how are you guys in rural Ireland teaching using these headsets, and we're not even doing that here yet? which is great. So I'll just show you a video. I'm not too sure if we've time. This is about 5 minutes long.
Yes, we have enough time.
As much as you feel is appropriate. Oh, sorry.
I know a guy that has one. So.
We backed the Cyprus virtual visit.
What is it?
So hopefully we'll get that at some stage along the way.
I'm sure there's no holes in my socks.
Okay, so before I start, actually, I just want to mention the AR Marketing Conference. That's the Augmented Reality Marketing Conference. Alex Gibson, he's been a great supporter of the 3D camp, and he's running that at the end of April. So, as Dave said, joined the hip augmented reality and virtual reality. It's a very good event. I was at the one at the Guinness Storehouse last year, so if you're interested, go along to that. So, yeah, let me go back there. So, and again, before I start my slides, I just want to relate how I met Gleb last summer at the Maker Fair. This isn't the Maker Fair, but we've shown the Oculus Rift to about 2,000 or 3,000 kids at this stage at various different events around the country. This was at the ITLG event in Shannon Airport last year. And it's the same thing everywhere you go. It's always this kind of 20 people deep. And there were 600 kids at this event and just kept circulating, coming back for a second and a third go. But at the Maker Fair in the lawn of Trinity College last year, it was the same kind of thing. And I was on my own that day. It was a Saturday, so I was under fierce pressure. And I had no Xbox controller, so I had to be bent over the desk with the mouse all day long. And I was stressed out, and Gleb came up to me and offered to give me a hand. I never met him at that stage. And we kept in touch afterwards, and he was talking about getting the virtual reality meetup group going here. And I said, you know, Gleb, we've been doing this conference down in UL for the last 8 years called 3D Camp. And it's just a user-generated community, grassroots kind of an event, not-for-profit, always free to attend. And it's been looking at stuff like augmented reality, virtual reality, haptics, gestural interfaces, and the overlap with the real world as well, with 3D printing and so on. And after last year's event, we realized, you know, there's so much happening in this space, we need to do more regular events. So we're trying to get, chapters going nationwide now. We have the 3D Camp Limerick meetup group. I've been talking to people in Galway and in Cork as well, so we're hoping to get meetup groups going there fairly soon. We're fair play to Gleb for taking the ball and running with it, and this group is, I think, nearly up to 100 members now at this stage, so we're going to I want to start off and just show you quickly a video that we showed at the second 3D camp in Limerick in 2009, a video called World Builder, which is a couple of million views, I believe, on YouTube. It really struck a chord with a number of people, including myself. I won't show you the whole thing, it's about 9 minutes long, but I recommend having a look if you get a chance.
On one side to whisper to the priest on the other side.
It's kind of cool that you get to make virtual stuff. The research sometimes is fun as well, like organising the sheets of paper, making stuff as well.
And you can do stretches and you can do whatever size you want. Then if you want to change the colour, you can go in here and you've got loads of different textures. But you're able to download your own textures as well. Like I downloaded all of those.
It feels like I'm actually in film at what I was looking up at.
It feels a lot different because it feels like you're actually doing it.
Whoa, that is humongous.
Cool. Crosses.
Boys and girls are working together. The 4 classes working with the 6th class. Somebody finds a solution to a problem and then they tell everybody else. I mean, we spent ages here one day trying to put a stomach into a cow, a picture into a cow, during the last project. And this year it was making the door open properly. We didn't want sliding doors, we didn't want doors that fell flat, we wanted a door that opened like a door.
When the script is done, you have to link it to the door.
So you've just created a door and given it a script which will open it when someone touches it.
Yeah.
Can we see that work?
Now I have a bit of a ramp. So
Here you go.
and then if I turn around, it's closed. So then you're in.
I got a pyramid and I flattened it. And I rotated it like that.
Oh my god, it's so good. Oh, there's a person right there. Literally right there.
I can see Temple Cleaning and Carthage Tower and stuff. Wall that is big. Massive. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I can see Grace. Oh, it's class. Oh, it's so cool.
Oh, it's nice.
Oh, this is way better than the other.
So yeah, I mean, like it goes back to again to that the world builder video, that idea of allowing kids to be their own world builders in school. That was the whole idea all along. And obviously, the next step there is to, you know, to put the hands into the control of it with the leap motion or the nimble. The art is going to be built into the Oculus Rift probably. And then you'll have, because World Builder, the way the guy was building stuff there was the way it is done in Second Life. You take cubes, as I say, you extract and you extrude and so on. Just to wind up, so I thought that Mark Andreessen, you know, Andreessen Horowitz backed Oculus, I think, to the tune of about 70 million before Facebook bought them this time last year. And Andreessen, of course, is the guy who created the first web browser as well, so he's quite an influential guy in the Valley. But he said, you know, that it's not just about games, it's going to fundamentally redefine areas like film, education, and architecture, and I certainly agree with him on that one. So that's us. Thanks very much, and if you have any questions, I'll take them.
Sorry, just based on the way you talked, you were talking about how you have to sort of adopt a new business model. Would you say that education is still your passion? Kind of the way you talk about it seems to be.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. It took us a long time to extract ourselves even to kind of to give up. As I say, that was the kid with the weights. You know, it's how long do you keep trying to make it work, and before you decide you just can't make it work. And we felt we couldn't do so as a not-for-profit, so we're still offering the MissionV, the cloud-based service, as a product. And we had 11 schools last year paying for it. Just we haven't pushed it because we're a small team. And we've really turned our attention out to building more commercial, industrial applications. Yeah.
And do you think that if, like, the environment was more friendly, you'd go back to being a not-for-profit? Kind of a weird question, I know.
I suppose not really. You know,
You've already committed at this stage.
Yeah. Just when you make up your mind, you go with it. Yeah. Probably not. No.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm just going to be reading about that.